Hello everyone, and welcome back to This Week in ESO, episode 13. I'm your host, Rob, with MMORPG.com. This week we're going to talk about columnist Ryan Getchell's new column, Why All the Hate, on MMORPG.com, Matt Firewor's The Road Ahead, ZOS's Ask Us Anything, and the recent MMORPG.com review that just came out yesterday. In his most recent bi-weekly column, columnist Ryan Getchell at MMORPG.com attempts to explain why he believes all the hate surrounds ESO right now. Personally, I think a lot of people have vested interest in the game because of the IP, and they're upset that it doesn't meet the standards that they hold for it. If this game was any other game other than an Elder Scrolls game, they probably would take a pass on a lot of the different issues they have. But since it's something that's near and dear to them, it makes them a little bit more irate. And hopping onto a forum and saying, I don't care, is proof positive that in fact, you really do. On Thursday, game director Matt Firewer released his Road Ahead, and in it had a number of features we could see coming to the game within the next few months. And by the next few months, I mean hopefully by the end of the year. A grouping system that allows players to see each other in different phases, justice system, field of view adjustments, armor dying and tenting, these will be rewards from the achievement system, 2 new vet dungeons, Crypt of Hearts and City of Ash, new region in Craglorn and a new trial to go with it, increased ability to pick up items in the world, because if my bags weren't full enough and I didn't already spend like an hour a day on inventory management, now I have even more things in the world that I can pick up. Hooray! Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood to include storyline, quests, and skill lines, spellcrafting, so you can actually cast different types of magic, not just dependent upon the type of weapon you're using. Horse racing. Dragonstir Arena. Improvements to fishing, which I greatly welcome because I typically enjoy fishing. This game could have decent fishing, but as of now it really doesn't. Better NPC facial animations. Guild functionality updates. Auto-leveling dungeons, which is very nice for the leveling curve. I have a tendency to actually go into the dungeons after I've leveled to where it's at, and you get next to no experience going through, and the reward isn't very challenging because you're 2 to 3 levels higher than all the mobs. So this is a feature that's in other games out there. It's gone over very well, and it's something I look forward to seeing in ESO. Awards for when you repeat dungeons. I can give or take that one. In the Imperial City PvP dungeon, aka Darkness Falls 2.0. In the Ask Us Anything that they hosted later that day on Reddit, they addressed even more issues, and we got a couple questions that we hadn't heard anything about. One of the more interesting answers that I saw, and something that I don't agree with, and I hope doesn't make it into the game, was Matt stated there will be kiosks in all major cities with a seller vendor NPC. Guilds will be able to bid on each kiosk. If they submit the highest bid, that guild store will be accessible to everyone who interacts with the NPC. Guild control of a kiosk will last for 1 week, after which it will be back up for bid. End quote from Matt. I do not like the idea of kiosks. I didn't like it for Cyrodiil. I don't like it for all the other major cities. It's not because it's not an interesting idea. It is an interesting idea, but I don't think it has impactful gameplay elements in AVA, and I don't think it's going to reward guilds' effort in the rest of the game. I think you're going to have Zerg guilds, which you have now for trade guilds, that'll get an AH. Doesn't really have any form of community or cohesiveness there, and you're just going to reward people for zerging together and putting these there. Work on the functionality of searching and get us a better feature of AHs within guilds before you start doing this. And if you're going to take half measures, why don't you just go whole hog and give the game an auction house? Stop piecemealing it out like this. There's a reason Final Fantasy XIV completely redid their economy when they went from 1.0 to a Realm Reborn. Because having these merchants, these kiosks, things like this, people really didn't want it, no matter how cool it sounded. Next up, we have Bill Murphy's review. It finally became official. We have a score on MMORPG.com. Word to the wise, we don't always like giving scores, but it's one of the things the bosses make us do. This one got a 7.9. Depending on who you talk to, it was too high. Talk to another group of people, it was too low. One of the scores that was more contended, or should that be contested? Regardless, one of the scores that was more contested was the longevity score. I believe Bill scored it pretty high. Let me go check. Bill gave it a 9. A lot of people said it deserved a 6. Another thing they fought over was social. Bill gave it an 8. A lot of people said it deserved a 1. I don't necessarily agree that it deserved a 1, but I don't know that I hip to the 8 either. I do think the phasing issues might cause some problems. But for all the people that are running around on the forums flaming each other, saying this game is completely not social, why don't you take a look in the mirror and realize that if you're being a jerk to people in the game, they're not going to want to play with you. That's it for this week, folks. Thanks for watching. Let's continue this conversation on social media. You can find me on Twitter at Grakulen, Grakulen. Continue to leave me comments and feedback in the section below. I read every one, and you can find yourself featured in the next video.